You need a lot of RAM for programming. Nowadays, 32 gigabytes of RAM is somehow a minimum if you want to get things done and not waste time for technical details that the computer will need to execute. And yeah, I think 16 gigabytes of RAM will barely, minimally, and it is very unlikely that will be sufficient to get the work done without getting without the operating system trying to get some of the hard drive to page it and to simulate more RAM, and this will slow down the whole computer. So, for example, if you are doing web development, you most probably run an IDE, Visual Studio Code or IntelliJ or something else. You need a browser, and you need with a lot of tabs. Probably you're not running only the testing tab, but a lot of tabs, like 10 or 20. And you are also running the backend, the server. And the computer also needs some RAM because of the operating system. So you have 4 components that require RAM. And if you are running your backend as a container, you will most probably need something like Docker or Kubernetes or some other service that is yet another layer of RAM, another big chunk of RAM eating beast. And if you're developing mobile applications, you need the browser because you search solution for the problems or anything else. You most probably open a browser for something. And besides that, you need the IDE and the compiler. So it will be some Kotlin runtime that will wrap up your application and bring it to the mobile device, to some real physical device, or it will be Xcode and CocoaPods and all the Ruby stuff and Objective-C and Swift stuff that Xcode compiles to an application. And basically, for development, all the code you write will be interpreted, and this code swapping needs some RAM. So the idea, the development environment, the virtual machine that interprets the code that is visualized on a real device, and this just the first case, and the web browser. And I'm pretty sure you will not have tons of mobile devices to test your code, like Android phone, like Android tablet, like iPhone, like iPad, and all the variations. All of them you'll probably test on simulator or on emulator. And these virtual machines, these mobile virtual machines, consume a lot of RAM. So they alone will probably eat several gigabytes of your RAM. So for mobile development, it's unthinkable to use 16 gigabytes of RAM. And if you're using some modern stuff like microservices, you need several instances of your IDE, and you need several applications, backend applications running and in development mode that are either interpreted or they have a debugger instance that for trying to look up the logic and stuff. And yeah, consuming, if you're running Kubernetes and running multiple microservices, you're most likely will need a lot of RAM. So, and so backend development and mobile application and web development, yeah, whatever things you do, you most probably need 32 as minimum. 64 may be sufficient for most of your current development, 2023-24. But yeah, there are some machines that have some more RAM, and they may be, you may think of getting some machine more than 64 gigabytes of RAM if you have a setup that uses multiple monitors, like 4 or more. For up to 3 monitors, your multitasking might not be able to switch so much on the tasks. So if you have a setup with 4 and more monitors, you may think for a machine with more than 64, but this comes at some very high level of cost. So the application you will be running must truly needed to spend so much money, especially if the machine you require to get is Apple. So yeah, the current latest and most powerful machine on the Mac side is $5,000, $6,000, and $7,000. So yeah, very expensive. So this is it. You need 32 or 64 gigabytes of RAM. Unfortunately, this is the reality. If you don't want to waste time on the waiting for the computer to finish the code swapping and to actually spend more time on the business logic and not on the swapping of your code onto the browser, the device, and yeah, doing the normal compilation and interpretation stuff.